Hey Tribe, so it's Shawnnyce Nutt, your anger whisperer. We are going to go through some stuff today that's going to be a little bit deep. We're on episode 6 of the Anger Whisperers podcast. Let me restart and introduce myself. Shawnnyce Nutt. I am a master of science, a conflict coach, and creator of the Anger Whisperer program and the formula, which is conflict times reaction minus emotion equals peace. And we'll talk about that as we go through because we do every time. All right. So today's episode, like I said, is one that we all need to lean into. We are going to be talking about what is now called microaggression and what was called then just aggression. So I'm going to give you an example of something that happened with me, kind of to put this in context of what is happening with me. So this is probably 30 years ago. I'm going to age myself when I say this, but I had just graduated with this investigative security certificate from Watterson College, and I was familiar with it. I don't even think they exist anymore, and there's a lot of reasons why. But anyway, I had called a company because they were hiring for security, for a security officer, armed security guard, that type of thing. And back in the day, you went through the newspaper, you saw the ads, you called, and this is what happened. So you would go fill out an application, get hired, whatever. So this particular guy, they were in desperate need and they wanted to have somebody start right away. So I called, I talked to him, I introduced myself to him. I let him know that I was coming by to get an application. I had just graduated, all the things that I had. So I listed all those things like a resume on the phone, told him all the things that I had done and how I had graduated and how I was able to be armed and how I already had a card that would show that I was permitted to carry a firearm. All of the things that they were looking for, I possessed. So he says to me, you know what, that's amazing. We had a wonderful conversation. And he was like, yeah, you're hired. Just come down here and do the actual steps of filling out the application because we have to have that for your file. But this is what your shift will be. This is what your pay will be. And this is when you'll be able to get started. Come get your uniform and all of those different pieces. So, wow, me and all my excitement, I'm so excited. Like, yeah, I got a job. It wasn't my first job. It was just one that I wanted. So I went down there and I um, was filling out the paperwork. And so he walked in and he saw me. And he said, huh, what's your name? I said, Shawnnyce. I'm Shawnnyce. You told me to come down here so I get the stuff filled out so we get started. And he was like, huh, and walked back in his office. So in a couple minutes, when I'm pretty much done filling out the stuff, they called me to go in the back, and I go back there, and he was like, "So you should have told me." I said, "I'm sorry, I told you what?" He said, "You tricked me." I said, "I tricked you how?" He said, "Well, you didn't tell me you weren't white," which kind of stopped me in my tracks, and I was like, "Wait, what?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "My name is Shawnnyce." So I mean, I should have given a clue. What are you talking about? And he said, "Well, you should have said that. You're so articulate. You speak so well that I didn't know that you weren't white." That story led me to write a paper in my English class called I Speak Right, Not White. 'Cause what are you talking about? So back then, again, it was not micro, it was just aggression. So, but all of that being said, one of the things that I'm going to start to do, or that I'm actually doing, is actually offering career conflict coaching. So we talk about how to move to your next level, how to deal with things as they come up, how to ask for promotions, how to handle these particular microaggressive things that happen to us clearly, because now people will just say slick stuff. All right, so episode number 6, did they really just say that? Career conflict and microaggressions using the peace formula, how to handle these things. Right. So we're talking about career conflicts, specifically microaggressions at work. You know those moments when someone says, "You're so articulate," as we just went over, or "I didn't expect you to be this qualified." Let's talk about how to handle it. Not by shrinking, not by exploding, but by applying peace. So conflict times reaction minus emotion equals peace. This first part, what are microaggressions? Let's define those in the first place. Microaggressions, what they're called now, are subtle, indirect, or unintentional comments or behaviors that communicate bias. They can be racial, gendered, ableist, ageist, you name it. What makes them dangerous is their frequency, ambiguity, and impact. Naming it is the first step in neutralizing. So let's call it what it is. Again, these things are now more slick than they used to be, and so you'll get it more subtle things, like you said. Well, like I mentioned earlier, like, oh, well, you speak so well. Aren't they articulate? Or, carry themselves so well, or they present so well. I had no idea that they had those kind of qualifications, like, oh, master's degree, that kind of thing. So we're going to give some examples of that, and we're going to work on how to use the peace formula and how to apply it. So let's break it down. Conflict times reaction minus emotion equals peace. Conflict. Let's say a coworker says to you, wow, I didn't expect someone like you to lead this kind of project. Your reaction, you've got choices. Try this though instead of what you would normally do. Can you clarify what you mean by someone like me? It puts the pressure off of you and onto them. What do you mean by that? Did you mean someone like me because I'm a woman? Did you mean someone like me because I've been here 5 years? Did you mean someone like me because of my skin color? Let's talk about what it is. All right. Emotion. Take a breath. Silent pause is a power move. Your silence is going to rock their world. Ask yourself, am I reacting to this moment or many moments that came before? So make sure that you're specific and you understand exactly what's happening and you're clear in what is going on. Not something from the past, but something that's right here in front of you. Keys. When you multiply conflict with a measured reaction and subtract raw emotion, you do arrive at peace. Here's another scenario. Someone calls you, you know, the angry black woman. You're aggressive now. You're so excited and so passionate about what we're talking about that it comes across as aggressive. Ooh, tone it down. Just keep it down a little bit. Quiet down. All right. So what you're going to say in that when you're called aggressive is, you know what? I'm passionate about this project, but let's focus on the content, not on me. Scenario 2 is tokenized for diversity. And this is a real hot topic right now because all of the stuff that's going away. But this still happens. So what you're going to say is, thank you. I hope we're also building a space where everyone's perspective is provided, not just me because of who I am. I don't represent all people of color, all women, all people in my age bracket. You can't represent every single thing. And I had a friend that she was a spokesperson for white mankind, and I was a spokesperson for black people. But you can't do that because it's not true. I don't fit into every single thing, and I can't answer for all the people that I carry on my shoulders. All right. So another one, you're interrupted in meetings because people love to step over you and talk over you, and it seems like what you're saying doesn't matter. It makes your message feel unimportant. So what you can say in that scenario is, I'd like to finish my thought. Then I'd love to hear yours, but let me finish. Let me complete what I'm saying without turning into somebody who's angry because you're pushing my buttons by completely ignoring me and talking over me like what I'm saying doesn't matter. Right. And so I wanted to share with you something that someone had talked to me about, told me about this. So Mariah sent an email to me before the program. She said I felt stuck in a role I had outgrown. She's one of her clients who is working on getting a promotion currently. But the peace framework gave me a clear lens to refine how I now respond to a subtle bias. So within 60 days, I was offered a stretch role I didn't even think I was qualified for. Because sometimes people see you in certain ways. I used to say to myself when I was carrying all that anger around with me and not walking in the path of peace that I do now or using my formula, I would say, people could see me as an angry black woman. And so anytime something happened that I felt a little passionate about or in a situation where I had been wronged, especially at work, when I responded, people responded to me in kind, like, oh, look at her, here she goes again, type thing. So you got to make sure that when you present yourself, you can't really clear up what anyone else thinks, but you can walk your truth and have people understand exactly what it is that you're saying. All right, so your peace practice challenge. This week, keep a peace journal. log the conflict, note your reaction, check your emotion, and find your peace. Because sometimes we have to go through and understand exactly what the conflict is, where those microaggressions are, and how you come across them, and why people are holding you in a certain regard with no fault of your own. All right. DM me on Instagram at Anger Whisperer and tell me how you win. So again, what you're going to do is keep a peace journal, log your conflict, anything that happens to you during the week, note your reaction and how now it's changed from the way that it used to be, because you're now instituting the formula: conflict times reaction minus emotion equals peace. So note your reaction, check what your emotion is, and make sure that you find your peace. Right. So follow the Anger Whisperer. Share this episode with a colleague. Sign up for a free coaching hour at angerwhisperer.com, or actually sign up for a free anger coaching call, conference call. You deserve rooms where you're not just present, but powerful. Until the next time, conflict times reaction minus emotion equals peace. Stay powerful, and I'll see you on the other side.